One oversees over 150 different student organizations that are just SGA chartered, on top of the over 250 plus organizations that we have on campus alone that are also departmental organizations and like that stuff. So you know, be able to interact with students to hear what they have to say.
How would you better connect the student body to the student government?
Yeah, something very similar. I'm very interested in getting to know every single one of these clubs and figuring out not only what you guys do, but how we can all work together. One of my main focuses is getting clubs who want typically co-sponsor events and sponsor events with each other, because I would like to build a network of other campuses. I would like to build my personal network and get to know each and every one of you. So, thanks for that issue.
I just want to make a point of clarification. We can't co-sponsor clubs, but we can co-sponsor departments. For like departments such as SGICR, for the student government to get to know the student body, I would like to kind of like a personal thing. So I have the honor of going with the SGA family to go to Mega Shabbat, and I had a fantastic time. Getting an opportunity to understand just a portion of our student body. It was really an honor, and I really got to understand the culture and the food, first of all, was fantastic, and the music. So with things like that, attending events, making sure that you're understanding our student body population, and I look forward to attending more events.
So we'll start with Pat for the next question, and then we'll move with Ariel and then over to the next. The president serves as a liaison between the students and university administrators. How would you approach working with university administrators as a voice for the students?
A major point to me is transparency. Coming from both ends. So I would try to make sure that I get the clear representation of the students, and I can bring it straight to faculty, and I can bring the clear representation of faculty to students. Sometimes I feel like there's smoke and mirrors that come with it as well. So I just want to make sure that I get exactly what's going on and not what people are telling me to tell you, and I want to make sure it's quick and responsive in a way that you can respond in a quick way as well.
My biggest thing is communication. Reflecting back to attending a meeting about the Wellness Center, is communication. I will ask a question. If I don't understand something, I'm having my notepad and make sure I have time to ask some questions before. Because I don't like to leave a room without understanding what the whole purpose of the meeting was. So for example, if there's a very important meeting that I need to go to, I will have my little notepad and my pen, writing the questions and making sure that I understand, so I can bring some answers to the student body.
So I use this metaphorically. So to be able to connect and represent our the student voice of administrators, and what I meant by saying metaphorically, I would want to kick the door down. So what I mean by that is really try to get in contact with the administrators that would be necessary to speak to whatever things we may need. And I've already shown the track record of doing that, because I've built a lot of relationships with administrators on campus through the 4 years of leadership that I now have at Rowan, from being president of the Residence Hall Association to SGA, and doing all the different initiatives that I have, like help create the task force on diversity that helped create the new diversity and inclusion division at Rowan. So I think my track record by itself can show that I've already helped open those doors to students and administrators.
The next question is going to start with Mike Webster. We're trying to give everybody the first. The president serves as the voice of students during times of crisis. Can you share a time when you have handled a high-pressure or stressful situation?
So I can use 2 examples. So one, last year, I was the chair of the conference that came to Rowan, and that conference included over 40 different schools from around our region, like Penn State, Rutgers, University of Delaware, and there's well over 200 people here. It was a 3-day conference that was primarily housed in here. So I'm sure you all could imagine how difficult that is to have 200 people who have no idea what our campus is, no idea where anything is, and having to help manage and make sure everyone feels safe, feels included, not lost anywhere. So handling that and being the chair of that definitely is one thing that I would say definitely was able to deal with the crisis situation. The other thing too is I worked very closely at the beginning of the year to deal with the police incident that happened on our campus in the Mimosa parking lot. And from that is what I was talking about, that task force on diversity that spurred from that incident, and now that's helped run into a lot of different other aspects. So being able to handle that, I think I definitely, grasp that pretty easily, and then help, turn that energy into other things.
Yeah, so being the president and founder of an organization, it's a blessing and a curse. Because you're blessed to tell people the good news and you're cursed to tell people the bad news. And I feel like throughout the years I've had a lot of experience having to tell people things that necessarily they may not want to hear, but they need to hear. And like I said, the good side is you get to tell people things they may not expect, but that may bring them some joy in their day. So with that experience, I feel like I would be pretty well suited to do this.
In a time of a crisis, it's really important to understand all the details that is going on. Being a part of the executive board currently, whenever there was a crisis or a student death, I know for a fact that our current president has sent a group chat, message in a group chat informing all the members of the executive board. I'd like to continue with that as well, but making sure my e-board and I were all on the same page about this crisis, and that it is a team effort to inform the student body.
So we will start with Ariel for this question. How will you hold the members of the executive board accountable?
I will hold the members of the executive board accountable. We currently have a strike system in place. For me personally, I have never received a strike. With that being said, I make sure that as secretary, I'm doing my duties, making sure that I'm accountable for myself. And working on a team, you have to understand that each of your positions is very important to making sure that we're a well-functioning machine. With that being said, I'll most definitely enforce that strike system, making sure to, for e-board members who are in a position next year to understand that you don't want to strike, because that looks bad on your part, especially if you understand that if everyone else is doing their part, you should want to do your best into the position that your fellow peers have elected you to be in. Thank you.
I personally feel as though the best way to enforce is to encourage pride. So I would set up different quotas. I'm running on diversity. So an idea of a quota that I would have is you have to attend 2 events per semester and come back to us and tell us about something they may need or something interesting that you found about it. I would like to attack the problem before it becomes a problem. Thank you, guys.
So to hold people accountable, I think one of the easiest ways is to do it through being personable with that individual. So I would quote this from something that a book that I actually read a while ago. If any of you have ever read the book How to Win Friends and Influence People, it's a very classic book from the early 1900s, and I believe it's in the first chapter. It uses an example of like a work situation that has a lot of safety hazards, and the supervisor always goes around and tells everyone to wear their hard hat, but he says, wear that hard hat or you're going to get in trouble. And he always kind of follows it up with a consequence. But the book suggests not to do it like that. Instead, you walk up and be like, hey, do you know not wearing that hard hat? What if that brick falls, you crack your head and die? And so what that's supposed to show is instead of directly linking it to, a consequence that I may hand out, like, you're going to get in trouble, try to make them link it to something that they actually think of. Like, this decision is going to bring a consequence that I brought on myself type of thing. So that's how I would do it.
So starting with Chad, the president works with external constituents, university administrators, advisors, fellow executive board members, and students. How would you make large decisions with several stakeholders that may have different opinions?
I really like the way that the Senate is ran out. I think democracy is the best. Communication is key, and at the end of the day, if there's a disagreement, we go to vote. And we largely set our goals. So we're not thinking personally, we're thinking about the student body, we're thinking about the betterment of the school. And as long as I feel as though our goals are set clearly, we set it to a vote and we just do it in democracy.
love about currently working in executive board is the difference of their opinions, their leadership styles, and one of the things that I think about myself is I believe I'm a team player. With that being said, I will listen to what my fellow e-board members or whoever is voicing their opinion, making sure that I completely understand what their whole point is before asking a question or making a disagreeing remark. With that being said, it's very important to have an open mind to others, making sure that you're sticking to your values as well.
Kevin, can you repeat the question one more time?
The president works with external constituents, university administrators, advisors, fellow executive board members, and students. How do you make large decisions with several stakeholders that have different opinions?
So I'm going to tap something that Ariel said before, actually. Communication. I think communication is that simple key. In a world today that's like very divided, a lot of issues happen when there is no communication. We can see that in our own reality. So I think just being able to have that communication, have that open dialogue with administrators and my constituents and the board, I don't think that there should really be any issues as long as there's that communication.
I have one more question, then we'll open it up to the audience. If you could fix one issue on campus, what would it be?
I think about that actually. If I could fix anything on campus, it would actually be for Senate. With that being said, I love SJ Senate. As I mentioned before, I was freshman class senator, and yesterday, I had the honor of going to different organizations and going to their chapter meetings and just hearing their concerns, understanding their population as a whole. With that being said, one of the things they mentioned was the fact that they're not represented. I know most of us were here from Senate, but raise your hand if you're a senator for Greece. See, no one will raise their hand because there's no senator position that represents the Greek affairs. With that being said, it's really important to making sure that our student body population is represented in some type of way. It's got to be like a microcosm of things that needs to be represented for the students. Another thing, like sports clubs. Also, there's no one that represents who people who don't join clubs. For example, if there's a student who doesn't join a club, there are options of voting on very important things that we vote on. For example, last year we voted on the Rowan well. Students who weren't a part of a club, they didn't hear about it unless the senators had told everybody on their social media page about what happened, which I doubt that happened. That being said, there's a population that's missing on Senate. I would like to change that.
Thank you for this question, because I get the chance to tell you what inspired me to run for president. My man right here at the last Senate meeting, he gets up and he says, I'm a part of radio, TV, film. If any of you guys would like to have your events broadcasted, please hit me up. And when I sat there and I thought about it, I thought, wow, that's a really good opportunity that I know a lot of people have not taken advantage of. And one of the main reasons, at least for me, is I know that there's a problem with diversity on this campus. And this is an inclusive campus, and we've done a great job of doing that. But I want to further diversify the campus. The world where it's so easy to think about our differences, political, racial, and anything. I want to move this campus more toward a campus where we think about what's similar about us, the fact that we're humans and we all have this innate ability to just love and things of that nature. But what these things do is create success opportunities, because I don't know half of the people in this room, but I would love to, and if I do, we can foster some bridges that will really propel us into a future of just success. And I might call you one day and say, hey, I have this opportunity for you, and you can come. So I say that to say I want to be more inclusive, and that's what I would set agendas to do. Things like radio, TV, film. You need somebody to, excuse me. Things like radio, TV, film. If you're asking people to come, I would want to be the one that says, hey, I know that you're having an event this weekend. Can I introduce you to him right here? Let's make something happen. So yes, thank you.
So my goal is to represent students and do exactly what both of the other candidates spoke of, especially represent people. As Ariel spoke on replay, she is right, there is no position right now, senator-wise, that's there to represent Greek life. But there are positions on the e-board that are dedicated to that. Like my position right now is AVP of Student Affairs, and one of the things I've done all year is work with Greek life. I have regular meetings with their president, vice president of the Inter-Greek Council, and other members of the Greek life community. So utilizing the resources that we do have to represent and go meet those students, that's what I really want to do. And also really empowering the class senators and academic senators to go out and reach out to those people who aren't a part of the club, who don't have a senator like you to really represent them. So empowering the resources that we do have available and having them really, try to make that impact and change, because I know that that impact and change can be done, as I said, being a part of the team at Rowan that helped create the new diversity division, which is something great because that shows that we're moving forward to change. So that's my goal, is to really empower the students, hear their voice, so that we can make those progresses and strides towards change.
I would now like to open it up to questions from the audience. So 5 people, or we'll take about 5 questions, so if anybody feels comfortable or has any questions to ask, please come forward to the microphone.
Hey everybody, I'm Emmanuel from Victims Awareness. Let's go. But quick question. Can you guys recall the last time that you had a conflict that you had to resolve, basically? And how did you do so?
Was that a conflict that they resolved, and how did they do so? Okay. You can go ahead.
The last like real big major conflict I had, so I said I was chair of that conference. I also had a co-chair. So I'm sure you could imagine being co-president with someone of your club. You have one other, but not even just the vice president, like actual co-president, where everything you have to do, you both have to be on the same page, you both have to sign off on everything. Basically, your vote is split into 2, and you have to bring both of those halves together, to make that decision. Well, that was the last conflict I had, was having to work with another person when your views differ so much, but at the end of the day, you both absolutely 100% have to come together to make your whole plan go in the right direction that you're trying to. So trying to work with other people, to make our visions combine is the hardest conflict I have.
Okay, so have you guys ever had that person on your board who's just always questioning everything and it's kind of like, for what at this point? That's what I had. I had someone who, when I first started code, they, at every single decision that was made, it was like, why are we doing this? Maybe we should do that, maybe we should do this. To the point where it was becoming something that stopped us from progressing. And what I had to do was I had to realize that everybody has different personality traits. And how I overcame this was, I understood that you cannot give the same assignment to everyone, because some people are better at decision making, some people are better at doing the groundwork. So how I overcame this was I became better personally at delegating responsibility to different people.
One conflict I had to resolve. One of my positions on campus, I'm a missions ambassador, and one of my part of my job is to give tours on campus. With that being said, we usually give a tour with someone else as well. And I have to work with a certain individual who I never gave a tour with. That being said, we have different stops on campus, for example, like Buns Hall, Student Center, etc. And so our first stop was actually at Buns Hall. If you know anything about Buns Hall, lots of history. And actually in the middle of me giving the spiel about how Toho Theater is haunted, she stopped me and gave me like a clarification point. I'm pretty sure that the person, the ghost who's haunting Toho Theater is Elizabeth G. Toledo. And she said it was someone else. I was like, okay, you know what? I'm not going to stop her. I'm just going to continue. With that being said, I actually talked to her right after while we're walking from the next stop to Hollybush. And with that being said, we just cleared it up. I was right. Yes, it was Elizabeth G. Toledo. But with that being said, sometimes you have to hear people out as well, even if it's something so minor as whether or not theater is haunted by someone else in another place. Honestly, yeah, I was right.
So just a quick point of information, we're only taking 4 more questions from the audience. Just a general announcement. So, thank you.
So, quick question. I think this was talked about earlier by you about the whole entire wellness situation, a complete mess. But apparently what happened was, like, I don't know, people withholding information from other people on the board and stuff like that. How are you guys going to correct that or stop that from happening again?
Sorry, I'm smiling because I was one of the members of the executive board who was excluded from that information. I think it's a point of understanding that even though I'm SJ secretary, doesn't mean that my only knowledge is about putting away folders or putting placards in for Senate every other Monday. I'm still a sophomore. I'm still a black female, part of the student body. I'm still going to be here for 2 more years, and that wellness, Rowan well, would have still affected me. With that being said, I want to make sure that my executive board, that whatever the information is being presented to us, that we're all on the same page and that information is given to us in a way of not excluding anyone on the basis of their position. I hope that answered your question.
I'm not familiar with this situation. Could you clarify what you're talking about?
It's been a while ago, and the whole entire night was just a haze for everyone involved. Basically, what's going on, because apparently some people had text messages, proof on Facebook on how certain people knew about the wellness fiasco before other people did, and only some people found out maybe a half hour before the entire event. I don't fully remember. And then it was just a big debacle about people on the executive board withholding information from other members just so they can have their way with the vote.
That's just not fair enough, right? I feel like that's a culture. It's both cultural and operational. I feel like that should be protocol. If there's information that needs to be known to the Senate, why is it not given on a Google document or something that every single Senate member holds? I don't understand that. So that's, and cultural is communication. There's no reason why we should feel like, as a board, we should withhold information from our fellow board member, and we're here to represent the students. So those are the 2 ways I would break it up. I would encourage communication, and I would make protocol to distribute information.
So the way that I would do that, e-board. So before every Senate, before every committee meeting, there's the executive board. And the executive board starts at 5 o'clock, Senate and committee start at 7. I think that the e-board needs to utilize that whole time in between our duties, so in between e-board and Senate, to really talk and hash out everything that's happening, all ideas and all that before we present anything to the student body. And being able to have that time, that hour and a half, I think weekly, that should be more than enough time to really let everyone on the e-board know about everything that everyone's doing in as much detail as everyone would like to know.
For the interest of everybody's time, I'm going to limit the candidate's response to 45 seconds. Just let everybody know.
Hi, this question was specific for Chad, but it applies to all the candidates. So, how do you plan to increase diversity on campus? Because I know that was a huge point in your statement.
So, being the president of my organization, there are clubs that I'm unaware about, or just clubs that in our e-board meetings we would never think to co-sponsor events with. So, a lot of people in my organization are entertainers. There's no reason why we haven't done an event with a club that represents future lawyers or future doctors. Now, I know it seems strange, but that's how I would do it. I would use, like I was talking about, I would make the Senate go to different club meetings and bring us back to meetings. Once we have that information, I want to match make different clubs that never go to events with each other and have them co-sponsor events. So,
I took your question a little bit differently because understanding about working in the office of admissions, where how students get to apply to Rowan, we don't necessarily control that process, but you can do that in a certain club, for example, or a part of a department. For example, I applied to be a Harley Fleck mentor, and one of the programs they do is actually go to different high schools. With that being said, if I can step out and go to different high schools, help people about Rowan University, how much I love this school, then definitely just read the population of students who are not always so lucky to be able to attend a college tour and things like that. Because I remember, I actually came to Rowan when I was like 13 years old, and that's a weird case for anyone. There was like a little drama show, with that being said. But making sure that the word is out there, what Rowan University has to offer for the students. Thank you.
So now that we do have the Division of Diversity, I would want to, so SJ's e-board is designed to match different positions within the university. So now that there's a new Division of Diversity, I want to create a position within SGA to work with that division, like the rest of all the other e-board positions are set up, like student affairs with student affairs, governmental relations with governmental relations, so that they can really learn what the resources are that that division has, and then help bring them to the student body to help implement ideas like what Chad has with linking up different organizations, because it's not just the general idea of race or sex that's diversity. It's, you know, just being a community, being part of everything, and then also, you know, helping sponsor other programs too.
I'm back. Nice to see you again since touring a concert promo class. So one of my questions was, diversity is a major issue for Rowan University as well as other universities across the state and the country. And I think we're doing a really great job in including more diverse people with transfer students and incoming freshmen, et cetera. My question to the three of you is, what's another issue that I think that you believe Rowan University has, and as SGA president, you can help solve or make a difference in?
Agility and responsiveness, and what that means to me is transparency. There was a gentleman who just talked about a discrepancy amongst the board and text messages, and I'm not familiar with the situation, but it seems as though it wasn't as transparent as I would like it to be. And there are some issues that happen on campus that I would like to move at a quicker rate, because I know there's some times where things get talked about and then it's just in the air for months on end, and I just want to be more responsive and just more quick with how we react to situations.
As my role as SJ Secretary, I share an office with the AVP of Academic Affairs. With that being said, one of his, sorry, I lost my train of thought. But one of his jobs is supposed to making sure that the faculty remains accountable. With that being said, I heard when I was speaking to students about what issues that should have attention towards, and that's faculty accountability. With that being said, I know that's a big issue on campus. For example, the adjuncts. I currently, for last semester, I had a class with an adjunct. That being said, you have only X amount of office hours you have to do, and making sure that that adjunct faculty is making sure they're putting the best ability, making sure that student is being given the attention that they deserve and the questions being answered. So just faculty accountability for sure.
So I would want to provide resources to students. So what I mean by the resources, and so what I mean by that is different programs or things that we can bring to students. So SGA has a large pool of money that we don't really do much with and kind of just sits there. I want to use that and tap that to bring different programs or resources like Rob with his Adirondack chairs. That's something that we use the fund balance for. So I want to use that to really bring more stuff to Rowan that students can use. On top of doing things outside of that. So obviously parking's an issue for everyone. Parking, it's not something that's going to get fixed this year, next year, probably while any of us are here, but we can figure things out. So like I want to start a parking ticket forgiveness program that helps wipe out some tickets. So there's other things like that.
Perfect, thank you.
So what is one thing you will, as president, you'll do similarly and differently than the current president?
One thing that our current president, I want to make sure that I'm answering your question perfectly. Would you mind asking your question again? Sorry.
What is one thing you'll do similarly or differently than the current president?
Okay, perfect. So one thing that our current president does great is making sure that just our current executive board members, our voices are being heard. During our e-board meetings, he always asks questions. and he always looks around the room, making sure no one's hands up, even if it's like a slight like hand raise, he always asks like, oh, do you have a question? Making sure that there's this time for us to ask a question. So I really appreciate that our president does. Something that our president does that I would do differently. Oh, great. So I would regularly schedule meetings with executive board members. He did give us an opportunity to do that like once or twice, but I will make sure it's regularly scheduled with the executive board members. Make sure that we're on the same page, we're having the plans and actions for the betterment of the student body.
So when I come to these meetings, I feel like his agenda is clearly stated, and that's what I want to do. I want to learn to speak. Well, I want to continue to speak more clear to make sure that you understand the points that I'm making. And forgive me, but I just how my mind is wired, I don't really think about what I would do differently. I would only like to build on the things that he's started to do and kind of make those bigger to the best of my ability.
So the one thing that I definitely keep saying is what Ariel said. Our president right now does a very good job at really trying to learn what the student voice is. The thing that I would do differently is recognition. So this is something we just started doing if you're at last Senate, recognizing student orgs that have done great accomplishments. I want to start recognizing that more, and not only just within student orgs, but student accomplishments themselves within Senate, within the e-board, because I feel like that really sparks some good motivation.
Thank you very much. Last question.
What makes you a good leader inside and outside of school? What makes you a great leader inside and outside of school?
So I think what makes me a good leader inside and outside of school is being able to have, to be frank, being able to have your shit together. So I think if you can't have your stuff together, then you're gonna end up falling apart. You're gonna end up forgetting about or neglecting your responsibilities with SGA, family, friends, school, everything. Think of it as like a Jenga puzzle. If you pull that one piece out, everything just crumbles and falls apart. So I think that is what makes me a good leader inside and outside of school. So people do that.
So I watch a lot of like motivational speaking podcasts and things, and in the words of the famous Eric Thomas, how can you lead others unless you can lead yourself? So I have a lot of things on my plate right now. Work full time, I go to school full time, and this is just another thing that I would like to add, because I feel like the more that you are able to accomplish, the more that you can help other people be able to accomplish other things. So that's in school, that's how I've been doing it. Outside of school, my organization is on campus, but it's also outside of campus too. So we go out to different events and we provide community service. One thing that I was instrumental in putting together is Teddy's Toys for Tots. Based out of Camden, New Jersey, we provide Christmas gifts for a lot of impoverished kids, thousands of kids in the city. We'll make that happen. So thank you guys.
What makes me a good leader outside and inside of school? I'll start with outside. So last year, my twin sister and I, we had like the honor of teaching English to migrant workers in Hamilton. So Hamilton, blueberries. With that being said, from my background, my parents are immigrants, but they got their citizenship a couple years ago. So my mom's from Haiti, and so the language we speak is Haitian Creole. So the migrant workers, they were from Haiti, and with that being said, we had the opportunity to teach them English, and the leadership skills I actually learned from that, from teaching English from a group of 20 migrant workers, was the patience, because sometimes they didn't grasp certain things, but I made sure that I had the patience of making sure that I can completely understand the questions they're asking, and making sure that they're leaving our lessons understanding a couple more words of English. So inside of school, I recently, am I done? Oh, okay. That's fine, you can talk to me afterwards. I would love to talk to you about my position this year. Thank you. Thank you.
That concludes our time for the presidential questions. So we're about to move into the vice presidential questions. So if you guys want to go and grab some wings from the back, I believe there's teriyaki, buffalo chicken, and honey barbecue wings. I encourage you all to stay, not just grab food and leave, and ask some questions from another very important position.
Oh, okay. I might have. I must have done it, but tell me, email me again if it didn't go through. Yeah, I already did. All right, thanks, TJ. Big help, man. This has been good. I've been getting a lot of good stuff.
So we will be beginning in about 2 minutes. So feel free to grab food. However, in 2 minutes we will begin the questions. So please be quiet. Also, for those of you who are leaving, elections are now open. Please make sure you read the bios of all the candidates to make an informed decision on who you vote for. If I could have the candidates please come up front. Candidates please come up front. We'll be beginning in about 30 seconds for the questions. Jasmine, let me start again. If we can get some quiet so that way we can begin the question and answering section for the vice presidential candidates. So, just like last time, we will allow each candidate to have a 30-second discussion, introducing themselves. So if everybody can please quiet down, and we can begin with that.
Hey everyone, we can get ready for questions.
Next slide, yeah. So, beginning with Yasmin, you will have 30 seconds when I say now. Sorry.
Hello everyone, my name is Yasmin Abed. I'm currently a junior. I'm studying psychology with a minor in sociology and Africana studies. Currently the assistant vice president of club development on campus. I'm also a resident assistant, and this past summer I served as a pros member and orientation leader.
Hello everyone, my name is Jason Fish. I'm a junior mechanical engineering major, and I like to say that I'm from clubs and for clubs. I'm formerly the president of IEEE, one of the largest and most prestigious clubs on campus. Additionally, I'm on the Student Financial Control Board, where I have visibility of all the clubs through working on managing and allocating the entire SGA budget and working on budget here. Thank you.
Okay, so starting with Yasmin, the first question will be, can you tell me your understanding of the vice president's role, and how has your prior experiences make you unique for this position?
My understanding of the role is really being organized and on top of the charter clubs and helping them with everything that goes throughout the year, with keeping up with their service hours, making sure they're attending meetings, coming to workshops and everything. My prior experience as current assistant vice president of club development, I worked with helping clubs go through the petitioning process, which is pretty much starting a club up on campus. So with that role, I worked heavily with taking students in through the process of becoming petitioning clubs. This past year, I petitioned about 11 clubs, and there's a few more on the way. So I feel like with that experience, I have dived into the aspects of what it would be to be a vice president of SGA.
SGA Executive Vice President works directly with clubs and organizations. I'm the current one. Mike Viola has done a fantastic job, and I'd love to continue that by offering more services for clubs and organizations, specifically working on potentially getting more sponsors, working with more workshops, and helping clubs really organize new events by holding workshops and also creating a new committee of student leaders on campus to help achieve that.
Next question, starting with Jason. How would you improve communication between SGA and clubs?
Yeah, so like I just said, what I plan to do, similar to SFCB, which I'm currently on, is create a committee under Executive Vice President, which will be leaders on campus who have knowledge in a lot of different areas, and they've previously been on e-boards of clubs, so they'll be able to directly help these clubs and guide them through new processes, like working on creating new events that they haven't done before, maybe bringing prestigious speakers on campus, and also helping achieve greater and get more funds.
Same question.
Repeat the question.
How would you improve communication between SGA and clubs?
I would just effectively communicate with everyone via email. I think in the beginning of the year it's really important to get the word out and introduce myself to all the club members who don't know me, so that they can put a name to a face to my name, and really just be available and have people know who I am so they can reach out and ask me questions throughout the year if they need it.
Starting with Yasmin, if you could fix one issue on campus, what would it be?
So one issue I'd fix on campus with the clubs, are you asking more within clubs?
Just general clubs as a student advocate.
Okay. One thing that I want to change for next year is having advertising for clubs and their events that they're having for the upcoming week. So in the beginning of Senate, have a slideshow of all the flyers and events of clubs events that are happening for that week. Also, I want to start a point forgiveness program. So a lot of clubs will gain points because of the transitioning period of from the past e-board to the new e-board, and they don't really know what's going on. So I want to start up a point forgiveness.
I would like to work directly with the CFO to look at and manage the funds that we have in the fund balance, which is a lot of money, and there's a lot of pretty amazing problems that we would be able to solve on campus. Currently, we are looking at things like helping EMS with the current issue that's been happening over the past couple semesters. So really helping make the money work for the students is my main priority.
Next question, starting with Jason. The Vice President assumes the role of the SGA President in their absence, removal, or resignation. Can you tell me of a time that you had to step up into a role that you did not expect?
Yeah, good question. I'd say this past weekend, I was a volunteer at ProfHacks, one of the largest student-led events on campus. We had over 200 students from all over the country, actually a few people from Canada, coming and creating projects that are really solving the world, solving major problems across the world. And one issue that happened this past weekend is a student fell ill because of a food allergy. And as a volunteer, I wasn't expecting to have to deal with this. So first, I went through the necessary steps, like calling EMS and working with public safety to help resolve the issue as quickly as possible.
The Vice President assumes the role of the SGA president in their absence, removal, or resignation. Can you tell me of a time that you had to step up into a role that you did not expect?
So as an RA, you work with your residents, and you go through all this training and everything, and then you think that you're not going to go through certain situations or conflicts that happen. So going throughout training my first year, I just was like, oh, okay, like whatever. I won't need to use this. But I've formed relationships with some of my residents where it became more than like an RA, more like friends. So there's been times when I had to step in and like just really like take my job responsibilities to like perform my job responsibilities and put aside the friendship and really step in and do what I needed to do to solve the problem.
Thank you. I would now like to open up to be cognizant of everybody's time. We're going to do 3 questions this time, so we can get 3 people to come up to the microphone.
Hi guys. So my question for you is, I'm going to read it so I get this right. What skills, connections, resources, and/or expertise do you have to offer that you think sets you apart?
Yeah, so one big thing that we started this year at SFCB is a special club projects account. So clubs are able to get more funds from SGA to work on these amazing projects that they're doing. But even on top of that, a lot of people don't know about Rowan University Foundation. Foundation deals with all external communications, and over the past 2.5 years, I've been able to raise over $50,000 from internal and external sponsors for my clubs and projects. So I'm definitely helping clubs, really aspire to do their best and obtain more funds from outside sources as well.
You said, so what's one like skill set that I would have?
I'll repeat it.
Okay.
So skills, connections, resources, and/or expertise.
Okay, so some skills I feel like that I have is being flexible and understanding. I feel like working with so many clubs, so many different conflicts or conflicts happen, and I feel like being understanding of everyone's situation is really helpful because not everyone has gone through the same like process and everything to get to where they are. So I feel like being understanding is a helpful skill set. And then the other one is just being flexible. So like I might have one thing in mind that I have planned, but something might come up and it might need to be changed. So I feel like being flexible will be helpful in making those changes.
We have time for 2 more questions. Okay, I have one more up my sleeve, so that way it's not as awkward for me. So what experience at Rowan has shaped you the most throughout your time here? We'll start with, you guys want your last one to speak? Or I'll give you guys like 10 seconds to think. And then. What experience at Rowan has shaped you the most during your time here?
So I think being involved in various clubs and organizations and working through different staffs has helped me shape the person I am because you work with so many different people around on campus and just different backgrounds and everything. So being able to work as a pros member or as an RA or just with various clubs throughout the past few years has helped me be more understanding, open-minded to the different backgrounds of people and the way people think and do things.
I would say it would be organizing Prof Next, our hackathon on campus, being able to interact with students who are taking their entire weekend to spend and basically live in the engineering building, creating projects that really solve people's problems. This past weekend, the team that won is actually 4 Rowan students, and they use the camera on a computer to actually help people with disabilities completely search the web without actually having to touch the computer. So just interacting with people from all different backgrounds is truly amazing.
We have time for one more question. Do you want to step up?
Hello. So my question to you guys is, what was your inspiration in running for vice president? What inspired you to want to run for vice president?
So I liked my role as assistant vice president of club development this past year, and I really want to take my skill set and perform on a higher and more what's the word? Take my skill sets that I learned in club development and use them as vice president, because that's dealing with more clubs and everything. So I feel like the skills that I learned with club development will be beneficial with vice president.
As the former president of IEEE with over 80 active members, I've really learned a lot, leading an e-board of over 15 members, and this seemed like the next logical step since I was working with clubs so closely. I think the next logical step would be to help clubs, all clubs across campus achieve their goals.
So that concludes the question and answer for the SGA Executive Vice President positions. So I'm going to ask them to step away from there, and we will move on to our Chief Financial Officer. Not our Chief, not Rob, but the people running for his position.
Hey, all those, you're getting tired.
I'm never getting tired. Plenty of Red Bull and coffee.
Not good for the heart.
What?
It's not good for the heart.
It's good for the memes, though.
Sounds like a whole list of heart attack.
If you guys are okay with it, I'm okay with it. I'm fine. We're good. No EMS is needed. So, we're going to give, again, we're going to, oh, I keep forgetting the slide. I'm sorry. So we're going to give 30 seconds introductions. We're going to start with Fiona and then move to Elijah. So whenever you guys are ready to begin.
Okay, hi guys, my name is Fiona Hughes. I'm a sophomore finance accounting major here at Rowan. I've been really involved on campus since my freshman year here. So to start off, I'm the senator of BOBA, which is a club here on campus. So that gave me a really great knowledge of SGA in general. Additionally, I've been serving on SFCB, which is the board directly under the CFO for the past 2 years, and that's made me really knowledgeable of exactly what the CFO does and my position and what I'll have to do. And lastly, I'm the founder and president of a new club on campus called Women in Business.
Hi guys, my name is Elijah Kelsey. I am a marketing major between the Rowan Choice Program, which is a combination of 2 years at RCGC and 2 years at Rowan University. I am a sophomore here. I am currently looking towards being the chief financial officer for Rowan University to have a better background around it all together in my major. That's all.
So the first question, what is your philosophy or approach regarding the allocation of the SGA portion of the student activity? Elijah, we'll start with you.
My approach will be making better positions for everyone else, such as jobs, more opportunities in clubs, if anyone wants to create a club, and also make it better for our students in general.
So personally, being on SFCB, I have a pretty strong opinion on this. So in my opinion, the student activities fee, since it is something that every single student who goes to Rowan University is charged, when it's spent, it should be spent wisely, and every student should be considered when making the decision on whether or not to fund something. So for example, I wouldn't feel comfortable funding something if it wasn't going to affect the majority of the students on campus, simply because everyone on campus is paying for something. So if you're going to be paying for it, you should reap the benefits of it.
Just a reminder, you guys have 45 seconds to respond, so that way you guys can make the most of your time. Next question, we'll begin with Fiona. What changes would you make to the budgeting process?
So I've worked on the budgeting process, obviously through SFCB, and it's a really long process, but I'm not sure there's too much I would change about it, only because you need to be really dedicated to get through budget hearings. You have to speak with every single club on campus, and you really have to consider their club as a whole. You have to consider the amount of students that they're affecting. You have to consider the choices that they're making financially, and you have to, really consider them as a club, active membership, things like that. And I feel like the board right now, having 9 members, and the CFO, who is a non-voting member, I feel like it's set up very well, and it's a diverse group of students, so we really have the opinion of a large group of students on campus.
My approach towards the budget will be to reform it, to make the budget better, to have better opportunities towards other programs. It will be an opportunity to have other things on campus like we need and things like that. Also to improve the things that's around the campus, like I just want to make improvement altogether.
Next question, starting with Elijah. What do you see as the Student Financial Control Board's focus for next year, and how would you implement it? Can you please be specific, not specific? That's a notion.
I see changing the budget, making it better, assisting other people, also having money for the students to use, like more money, instead of like wasting money that's been, that went towards other things that wasn't used during the year, to have other opportunities.
Hey guys, so hopefully a lot of you in the room are aware of the problem that we're having with EMS right now. So I think that the first thing that I would really like to get done if elected CFO would be to handle that situation, figure out a way to get EMS more funding, but not on the student's dime. But generally speaking, my standpoint on CFO is to really get in touch with administration in the school, because I feel like a lot of times they really reap the benefits of the great things that the students are doing on campus, but they end up not really dedicating a lot of money to us. So I really plan on battling them to make sure that the students are getting everything that they deserve and that we're being treated properly.
Next and final question that I have before we open up to the audience. The CFO appoints Student Financial Control Board members to be approved by Senate. How would you approach appointing the Student Financial Control Board members that represent the entire student body?
Yeah, so this is actually something that our current CFO, Rob, has recently changed, and I think that the way he changed it could not have been done better. So previously, the way the board was set up, it was just a few students and they had to be from Senate, so that didn't really give us a diverse opinion from everyone on campus. And Rob has changed it to where we have 9 students and it's from an application process. So every single student at the university has the opportunity to apply to be an SFCB member, and I would go through consciously and decide what students would be the best. I'd like to get a student from every different college to be on the board so that we really have the opinion of every single student within the board.
The CFO appoints the Student Financial Control Board members to be approved by Senate. How would you approach appointing the Student Financial Control Board members that represents the entire student body?
Basically, I'll be the voice of the money. Any program that students want, I'll try my best to get. If I can't, we'll try next year. What I also will do is I will make it so that if there's a problem with the budget, things like that, I can also adjust it so where we can have that opportunity to do more things on campus.
I'd now like to open it up for 3 questions from the audience. Wait, Riley, you're not allowed to come out. You're a new board member.
I'm sorry.
You had plenty of opportunity to email me. I told people multiple times.
Yeah, but I want to hear Riley's. I know that.
Alright, so the CFO is the most technical position that we have on SGA. So how does your background suit you for this position? And would you be able to put in the long hours that it takes?
So I think the obvious answer to this, since I've worked on SFCB for the past 2 years, that has given me, in my opinion, a complete understanding of SGA's finances. So this opportunity, I've really gotten to know everything about it, the different accounts that we have, and the way that everything really goes with being CFO. And working so closely with Rob, I've understood the kind of dedication that it takes to be CFO. So it's not the kind of job where you can do 30 minutes of work once a week and consider it done. It's the kind of job where I'm going to have to put long hours in the office and speak with a lot of students and really, get myself out there to talk to kids, but it's something that I'm willing and dedicated to do.
I always worked in retail, so before I came to school, I was a shift lead, and I controlled the money. I had to make sure the money was on the right every hour on the hour. I had to control what happens, what goes on with my staff, things like that. And to do that, it's basically the same thing correlates because I control what happens with the students and the students' money.
What is your involvement on campus, and what is your involvement on campus, and why do you think that would help you being a CFO?
My involvement on campus is I'm currently a Rowan Choice student. I am also seeking clubs. I have sat into, I watch the programs for the Unified programs that happens in the Rec Center, and I also am a Give Back Foundation student. So my involvement on campus is deep. I'm in between 2 schools, but I also see a lot of people during the day. I meet a lot of new faces every day.
So the 3 most important things on campus that I think make me qualify for this role is obviously SFCB, and I've talked to your off about that, so I'll save it for later. The second thing being that I'm the founder and president of a new club on campus called Women in Business. So this has given me the opportunity to understand where a club is coming from and the kind of difficulties a club can go through when petitioning and when going through budget hearings and problems that they can run into when planning for their financial future. And the next thing that I'd like to say is being an ambassador. That's really helped me to get a really good understanding of the diversity we have on campus. So since it's such a large group of students and I'm working with them every day and everyone is so different, it helps me to understand how different all of the students on campus is and how often I have to consider that.
Last question for the evening.
What is one thing that you like that the current CFO does and that you would continue to do, and what is one thing that you would dislike and that you would change if you were elected in this role?
All right, so everybody knows how much I love Rob, so I don't want to talk about the things I dislike about him, but I'm going to have to, I guess. So Rob is very vocal in all of our SFCB meetings, and he likes to give us guidance through processes. But if I were to be CFO, I think I would take more of a step back and let SFCB really consider things on their own. So not saying that Rob is pressuring us to do anything. He's standing right in front of me, so I feel the need to justify myself. But yeah, I would really like to let SFCB make decisions on their own, unguided, unless guidance was necessary. And everything he does, I think, is really great, and I'd like to keep the board and everything that Rob has set up structured pretty much the same way it is now, only because he's done such a fabulous job with it.
I'm sorry. Based on what the current CFO does, I believe that everything is the same. I'll just include other things that we can do and find more money where we can use for our resources as students, and I'll see more things that we can do throughout the year.
So that concludes the 2019 Meet the Candidates for President, Vice President, and CFO. I hope you guys are well informed after the questions and everything like that. And please, please, please take as much food home as you want. So have a great rest of your night. Make sure you guys are voting. Polls close at 12 o'clock on Thursday. Please make sure you guys are reaching out to candidates if you guys have any more questions. Have a great rest of your night. Executive Vice President. What did I say? Oh.